choose partner. How many of us feel that for a marriage, to get married, love is necessary? What we call love. What we call love. How many of us feel? How many of us feel that to get married, there should be love? No one? Everybody got married without love? What about the youngsters? You want to fall in love and get married, or you want to get married and then fall in love? Huh? Fall in love. Somebody said it. Somebody said it. Fall in love. How come 40% of love marriages end up in divorce and 7% of arranged marriages only end up in divorce? What is the difference between intense feelings and intimacy? What is the difference? When we fall in love, is it intimacy or is it intense feeling? Intense feeling, right? Intense feeling. So what is the difference between that and intimacy? How many, okay, so many married people here. How many, if they got a chance to go back in time, would marry somebody else? Big percentage. Okay. So we'll approach this subject from two angles. One is from the angle of life, and one is from what we would call spiritual growth. Now, in life, there are what is today is that people fall in love, and this love is more. It doesn't really. The practicality of marriage comes after 6 months, right? So really, that love rarely does it lead anywhere. So supposing you want to choose something, how will you go about it? Will you go about it from the head or the heart? Supposing you buy a house, you'll use the head or the heart? Right. So even when you're choosing a partner, you have to use the head. You have to note down what you want. So you have to make a list of what you want. It just cannot be a game of attraction and repulsion. Love is something which grows, right? Does it? The initial intensity may last, it may not last. In most instances today, it does not last. So it is more like what we call today's romance is more like a hypnosis, where people have feelings for each other, and then the practicality of marriage comes in. This person is not getting out. He's not helping out with the house, he's not doing this. So we want to find a suitable person. The first thing we want to find is a suitable person, right? Marriage is a contract, right? Where two people agree to live together, to live their lives together. So if you are looking for a suitable person, what do you want to see? What do you want to see? How good he looks? What is a suitable person? How will we this thing for a suitable person? What do we have to see? What do we have to see? What do we have to visualize? What do we visualize? As a suitable person, I want to get married to someone, right? What do I have to visualize? Do I go according to my present feelings, or do I have to visualize 10 years down the line? 10 years down the line. We've got 2 kids. Now what kind of a person is he or she, and how the relationship is going to go? Right? But we are so blinded by our immediate love that we cannot see 10 years down the line. So the first thing is that not to go by the heart, to go by the head. You have to think it out, you have to visualize it out. Okay? 10 years down the line, we'll have 2 children, this will be the situation. Is he going to help with the children, or is she going to be in kitty parties all the time? All this has to be seen beforehand. So, psychologists today say that the best way to go about a marriage is to decide, like when you buy a house, what do you want in a house? So many bedrooms, tick. So many bathrooms, tick. Kitchen like this, tick. Storeroom like this, tick. So you go with that person, tick, tick, tick. Just to whether it fits in or not. So just love is not the reason to marry. Just love. Whirlwind romance is not the reason to marry. Love can grow later on through the relationship of marriage, through complementing each other, through living with each other. Love can grow. And in many arranged marriages, it has grown. Now, does the partner have to be a best friend? Yes. What happens with your best friend? What happens with your best friend? What happens with your best friend? You tell all your secrets. But with a partner you have to you have to relate. Now there's an art in relating, and in the art of relating you don't tell all the secrets. You don't tell all the secrets. You want to, the objective is that the marriage should go well. So you don't have to look at him or her as the best friend. You can look at him or her as a good friend, but not the best, because the best friend you tell everything to the best friend. Why do you not want to tell everything? Why do you not want to tell everything? Why do you not want to tell everything? Come on, say something. Because love and hate go together. So today he or she loves you, but if something goes wrong, he or she will hate you, and at that time all that you have told, he or she will give it back to you. Right? Whilst a friend is not with you all 24 hours. A friend is just there in your difficult times, you'll meet and you'll just... So try to make a list of what you want. Does he have a positive outlook to life? He or she have a positive outlook to life? How well is she or he educated? Then what are your likes and what are his or her likes? And how many of them are common? If there are 2 or 3 common, then there's something which the marriage will go on. Many girls, they just feel that to have a good husband, all you need to know is to cook and be nice. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Now, what else is important in a marriage? What do we have to do? What do we have to do? One word. Each one has to sacrifice. There is the element of sacrifice. Right? And this, you have to sacrifice some of the first thing what you have to sacrifice. What do you have to sacrifice? Come on, the youngsters are not. They're daydreaming. They're daydreaming. What do you have to sacrifice? Many of your expectations. Many of your expectations. Now, when 2 people meet, is it 2 people meeting or 2 imaginations meeting? 2 imaginations are meeting. 2 imaginary people are meeting. She has so many imaginations about him and he has so many imaginations about her. You will love me till the stars in the sky, etc. etc. All imagination. All imagination. So, there is a sacrifice, and this sacrifice can only come if there is a perception of the reality of marriage. Otherwise, that sacrifice cannot come. So, you start with the physical, you see his height, his physical fitness, sense of humor, confidence. Now, who has to sacrifice more, the man or the woman? Woman. Not exactly true, is it? But the woman has to sacrifice more. And the earlier she realizes that I have to sacrifice my dreams, my expectations. Right? Now, in sacrifice, can there be joy? Not satisfaction. The ego finds satisfaction. The soul finds joy. And there's a difference. Right? So, not satisfaction. You may feel dissatisfaction that you're sacrificing something, but there may be an inner joy in the giving up. In the giving up of something. So, why does she have to sacrifice? What is the mean? Why this body makeup of male and female? Why does the female have to sacrifice more? Why? Because she is going to become a mother. She's going to become a mother. There's going to be the joy of motherhood. Right? And in that joy of motherhood, she has to sacrifice many of her own personal expectations of life, her dreams about life. Right? So the first thing which we will say is that when we go about our, what you call, looking for a partner in marriage, we won't confuse intensity with intimacy, infatuation with the suitable person. That is, I love this person, but he may not be the right person to get married. That has to be thought about. So you have to evaluate him with the head and not the heart. Now the first stage in any love, we will call it the Velcro stage. You know that Velcro, you stick together, you can't take it. The Velcro stage, they're holding hands and sticking to each other, right? The Velcro stage. Right? Now in that, now in this Velcro stage, you can't make the right decision. So when you're overwhelmed with these feelings of love, you can't make the right decision whether he or she is the suitable person to get married to. Because we are blind to what? What are we blind to in this Velcro stage? What are we blind to? Like a mother is blind to the... What are we blind to? To his or her? What are we blind to? His or her negative side. Negative side. Everyone has a dark side. Everybody has an unconscious mind. And unless we have an expansion in consciousness, we will not accept the other's dark side, the other's hidden side. Everybody has actually the hidden side is much more. Now how are we going to, supposing we have fallen in love and we are in this Velcro stage, how are we going to see what is not seen, the hidden side of that person? How are we going to see it? How are we going to see it? How are we going to see it? What do we do? Supposing first thing, we fall in love, what do? We take our partner for dinner. Dinner. Right? Now we want to observe the dark side, what is hidden. So how will you observe? How will we observe? The way he eats his food. That tells everything. You see a person eating his food, you know everything about the person. If you can just observe. Yeah, if he or she is chewing the food with mouth open like this, do you want to get married? If he is gentle with the food, he'll be gentle with the partner. But if he's showing gentleness with the partner, it is just this Velcro stage, sticking with each other, and he's very, he's attacking his food, then tomorrow that attacking is going to come out on me. No, I'm not joking. I had this a girl who was studying in the Baroda college, and she was madly in love with one Christian boy. And the mother came to me and she said that boy's already been married once and I'm not very sure about this relationship. So what do we do? So I called the girl and I said, you just observe the small things. How he talks to the waiter, how he talks to his mother, how he talks to other people in his family. He may be very nice with you, but if he is rude with them, then that rudeness is lying in his psychic structure. And it's going to come out on you tomorrow. So after 1 month she came and said, I left the boy. So we have to observe. We have to observe. And the best place to observe is in a restaurant. How he talks to the waiter, how he relates to food. So we want the authentic self, the hidden self to come out. At this time we must also realize that we also have a hidden self. Everybody has a dark side, an unconscious mind. Now, one of the exercises we used to do is we had to see everything in scale. I've talked about this once before. Seeing things in scale. So this was a very good exercise. Very good. And I remember my teacher would ask me that, what things did you see in scale today? Right? And supposing I say, okay, I don't like this person. So that is my initial reaction. I don't like this person. Then I have to make an effort to see him in scale. So then I look at him in scale. So I say, okay, he's getting good marks in his exams. He's not done anything not nice to me. He is this. He looks after his mother. He's well-mannered. He's this. So slowly in that scale, that dislike turns into like. Right? When you observe a person in scale, supposing somebody has insulted, then I observe him in scale. I see, okay, he's very good. He treats his wife very well. He treats his children very well. He looks after his mother very well. He's a good householder. He's a good businessman. This, that, and in all this good, this one small insult he gave to me, it doesn't have any meaning. But we see people only through a narrow vision, to see a person in scale. So this was one exercise which for a long time we had to practice, right? Seeing people in scale. So always try to see him in scale. Now, what will be the problem in this Velcro stage? Why will I not be able to see the negative side? Why? Why will I not be able to see his negative side? A mother, she does not want to see the negative side of her children. She will not see. If somebody complains about the child, she is not going to accept it. Right? Similarly, this boy or girl, why will she be blind to the negative side of her partner? Why is she blind to it? Because she is desperate to make the relationship work. Whenever we are desperate to make the relationship work, there is always something wrong in the relationship. No relationship can work out of desperation. What else will happen? What else will happen? What do we see? That supposing we have been out 2 hours throughout the day, then what do I see at the end of the day? How many times have I come into? How many times have I come into? Oh, you are not saying anything. Vow of silence. You have to think. You have to think. If you just sit and daydream, it's not going to work anyway. You have to think. We don't think. All our thoughts are borrowed. thought belongs to us. Thinking is an art. To think. Every thought is borrowed. If we fall in love with something, everything we say to that person is borrowed from some movie or some magazine or something. Nothing is real. Nothing is real in our life. So just think. Supposing I'm trying to avoid conflict. Then what do we call it in English? We are putting it under the carpet. Tomorrow it's going to come into conflict, but I'm just avoiding it today because I want the relationship to work. What else do I have to see within myself? First is, am I desperate for the relationship to work? Am I avoiding conflict? What else? Am I eager to? Please. Very good. To eager to please the other person. That cannot last forever. Right? And the more eager I am to please him, he is going to make use of me tomorrow. He's going to make use of me tomorrow. And then I'll be caught in that trap which I won't be able to get out from. So what will we do when we fall in love? We'll use the power of visualization. What will we do when we fall in love? What will we do? We'll visualize that person without our romance. We'll put the romance on the side and we'll visualize that person. That I'm not in love with this person, now will I get married to this person? And if he fits everything, then go ahead and get married. But if through my love, through the eyes of love, I'm trying to cover up so many things that they are going to come out tomorrow. And I'm going to be in trouble. So without romance, would I be friendly to this person? Would I tolerate all what he is doing? Now another important thing is self-observation. Right? Now supposing we've gone out for a picture together and I come back home and I'm alone at home, what should I do? What should I do? Supposing we've gone out for a movie together or we've gone out to the restaurant together, then what do I do when I come home? The same thing I tell my son and daughter. Same thing. Teach them the same thing. And what will I do? Am I feeling elevated? I've come out, left, he has gone home, she has gone home. Is each one feeling elevated? If you're feeling that somebody has hurt your self-esteem, or you felt your freedom is cramped, that by his saying something or she saying, you felt that your freedom is getting cramped. Or maybe you feel that you enjoy relating to other people, but because of this person now you will not be able to relate to other people. If you feel your freedom is getting cramped, then again you have to think about it. So when you come home from your date or going out or whatever, you come home and you have to do an introspection. You have to go in yourself and see the small things. That when I was talking to somebody else, was he feeling jealous? Where was his attention? Was he accommodating? All this you have to see. See whether your self-esteem has come down, whether you felt low or somebody has lowered your self-esteem. Why is this? Why is this? And one typical example. of lowering of self-esteem. And many husbands have this, this weakness. Many. They make fun of their wives in front of their friends. They make fun of the wife in front of their friends. So if he has made fun of you in front of his friends, then you are going to feel hurt, you are going to feel, so you have to be careful about that. So in this whirlwind relationship, the first thing we will do is pause, slow things down, make everything go slow, don't be in a hurry. Be assertive, you don't have to be aggressive. Assertion comes from the soul, aggressiveness comes from the ego. Assertiveness comes from the soul. The soul asserts its freedom. The ego is aggressive about its dominion. Right? So assertiveness comes from the soul. So you want to relate to a deeper level of being. Now, in any relationship, when you are meeting a person, make a list of everything you are willing to compromise and what you are not willing to compromise. Because you will have to give up so many things. And be sure that what you are not willing to compromise, you don't tomorrow have to compromise it. Supposing it's your job. You want to buy a certain car or you want whatever, right? Now, another thing which I would teach children to observe is what? How many times he or she uses the word I. How many times he or she uses the word I. If it is I did this, I did that, and I am this, and I am that, right? If he's only singing his song, he's never going to think about you or anyone else. So, very important to observe how much he uses the word I. Does he talk too loudly? Now, what is a typical example of a person's ego, a very egoistic person? He talks, the ego shouts, the soul whispers. The ego shouts. And a very typical example these days is, it comes in observation, is people, they're talking somewhere else on their mobile phone, but they're talking loud as if it's a big loudspeaker, you know. That's a very egoistic person. So, if he's talking very loudly on the phone, just be aware. Just be aware. Is he dishonest? He or she dishonest? Right? Does he or she lie? Right? Then you have to be careful. Is there some irresponsibility? So he had to do some work at home, or his mother and father gave him some job to do and he dropped that and came for a movie with you. Is there irresponsibility? Then that irresponsibility is going to come in the marriage. Keep your own focus. Decide what you want, your job, your plans for your life, everything, and then out of that, how much you're going to sacrifice in your marriage. Never preserve peace in the relationship by suppressing anything within. Talk it out. Talk it out with the other person. The meaning of the word argument, it comes from the Latin word argentum. Argentum means silver. The word argument means polishing the silver. That is the meaning of the word argument. So, polish the silver. talk it out. Make the conversation big so it can bring in everything, his weaknesses, your weaknesses, and whether he or she is willing to talk about it. See whether that other person is fair-minded when talking. He understands the other one's difficulties. And another thing, what do we see? One is whether he's talking too much of I, and the other one is whether he or she is very simple. Complaining. If a person is complaining all the time, you can never be happy with that person. It's not possible. Right? How many times has he complained or she complained about anything? Right? So, how many times has he or she gone on the defensive? They've tried to justify what they are doing. These are small things, but they are very, very important. They tell you what is lying in the subconscious of that person. And complaining is very important. A person who does not complain has a very positive attitude to life. He lives life in a very positive way. No disciple ever complains. No disciple ever. The first thing the Guru says is scratch out the word complaining from your dictionary. Because if a disciple complains, he's saying that God has not put this right. And discipleship means that everything that God does is right. It's spiritual will. So, complaining. How much of complaining is there? Okay, now the way he treats food and what else? Treating what else? Treating food and treating. See, tomorrow you're going to get married, you've got to pay electric bills, you've got to buy the vegetables, you've got to. How is he treating? Money. What is his relationship with money? See, a person's relationship with money tells a big story about that person. Does he come home and throw his wallet on the bed? Then that's his relationship with money. Remember that story of where the husband came to Buddha and he told Buddha that my wife, she spends all the money and there's nothing left to run the home. So Buddha comes and he comes to the wife and says that if the fist is closed, what would you call it? It doesn't open. She said it's not right, it would be abnormal. If it's always open, then what would you call it? Right? That is also not normal, and she understood. And from the next day she started running the household in a moderate manner. The art of moderation with money. What is the relationship with money? When he spends money, what will we see? What will we see? What do we want to see? Does he spend money with gratitude or does he spend money with disdain? I have so much of it, I can spend it. Then nothing can come out of that relationship. And a lot of girls get attracted to people who spend a lot of right? I remember when I was in college, the girl would ask me, it's a motorcycle, I'm not coming. If you have a car, I'm coming. So, and this is one thing which I learned from Ramdulare Babu is the relationship to money. We relate to a 1 rupee note the same way we relate to a 100 rupee note. The same touch, the same feeling, the same way we fold it, the same way we look after it. It is not that there is greed. I'm not talking that fist should not be closed. But there is a beauty in relating to money. And if if there is moderation and beauty in relating to money, then that is the right person to get married to. Now, how do we change? Now we've already got married, how do we change the other person? How do we change the other person? By changing ourselves. Not by nagging him. Not by nagging him. We keep on, then he's never going to change. His skin is only going to get thick. So, the other cannot change by nagging, but if we change, then the other person will, over a period of time, change. This I realized, I think I've told you this story about that girl who would come to meet me. One friend of mine came and he said, I want to get married to this girl. And I told him that you go out, I want to talk to this girl alone. So when he went out, I said that there's something in your eyes which is different from which you see normal eyes. There's something different in your eyes. You tell me your story. So she said, when I was 22, my parents, they married me to someone. And then he was very abusive. He used to hit me every day. So one day I came back home. And then my parents didn't want me. They were saying, you go back to your husband's house. And so she said, one day I got so sick of the whole thing that I jumped out of the balcony of the 6th floor. And she lived. Over 1 year she had so many operations, but she lived. It says, one of these operations, when I was deep in anesthesia, I had a vision that this husband who was beating me, I had invited him. It was not by some chance that I got married to this person. But I was the cause. That whatever happened in my life is that this person was hitting me, beating me, but I was the cause. I invited this situation. And at that moment, he said, everything in me dissolved. All the old knots I had, all the old prejudices I had, all the pent-up feelings, everything dissolved. And suddenly I saw life in a different light. That everything that happens in my life happens because I have invited it to happen. This is responsibility. Responsibility. Right? So, now if at a certain point in her life she had been conscious, then life would not have taken that path. It would have taken a different path. Right? So, just a little bit of self-observation, a little bit of consciousness, and this inner sense of responsibility that whatever happens in my life only happens because of me. No one else is to blame. That day I taught you this exercise. You all remember the exercise? Or I've forgotten the exercise? Okay. How can we invite something better? How can we invite something better? Now, all of you are still young. You're going to get married someday. How can you do something now that something which is going to come tomorrow can be better? How can we do it today? What is it that attracts life? Life is not coincidence. There's nothing like coincidence in life. And everything that happens according to law. If there was no law, then there would be no science. Right? So everything that happens according to law. Now how can if something is going to meet me tomorrow and it is going to be law conformable, how am I going to do something today which can change that tomorrow? How am I going to change something today which will change my tomorrow? What is it that is inviting my tomorrow? What is it that is inviting my tomorrow? See, make an effort. Is it the way I live today that is going to invite my tomorrow? If I am complaining today, then what tomorrow is going to come? Is it just a result of my complaining? If I am getting irritated all the time, then the tomorrow which is going to come, is it just a result of my irritation? And if I change my irritation today, will tomorrow change? What is in me is going to invite what is going to come tomorrow. If I am holding too much of anger, too much of irritation in me, then the person who is going to come to meet me, similar will attract similar. So I have to change my vibrational tone today. If I can change my vibrational tone today, what will I do to change my vibrational tone? So this vibrational tone attracts life. Can I change it today? What can I do? Wherever there is contradiction, I will try to become. Supposing somebody is saying something, somebody is talking about something. What do we do immediately? What happens within us? If somebody says this is a very good painting, what do we do? What happens immediately in us? We take the opposite stance. We'll find a fault. Okay, this painter made this mistake in this painting. Right? So he has said something positive, we have said something negative, contradictory. Just try to go through the day. How many times in today have I contradicted someone? How many times? And we'll see. So many times we contradict. Now if we can make that complementary, then life also becomes complementary. But if we keep on contradicting, then life tomorrow will contradict what we want. We want a very beautiful person, but something else may happen, I don't know. So it is our level it is our level of being which attracts life. Spend time meditating, spend time with music. Have an attitude of gratitude. Forgiveness. If we can forgive, then life becomes very soft. But if we can't forgive, life is very hard. And don't hold any resentment. Hold any resentment. So if we can change from within, then tomorrow will be different. Then we don't have to look for a person to get married. That person will come. We'll just attract that person automatically, the right person. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about something else. That, like I said, I'll approach this from two angles. One from the angle of life and one from a little deeper angle. Now there is a certain circulation of light in the solar system. And the old days the Janam Patris were matched. What does the horoscope show? What does the horoscope show? What is in the what is the 12 houses we have? What are those 12 houses? What do we call them? What do we call them? These 12 houses in the horoscope. I'm just taking us on a different track altogether. I'm not talking about sun signs, Linda Goodman sun signs. What do these 12 houses represent? What do we call them? In Sanskrit, what do we call them? Bar? Bhav. Bar? Bhav. Bhav means 12 emotions. 12 emotions. Right. Okay. So we have 12 major emotions represented by 12. What represents the emotions? Where did nature experiment with emotions? She experimented with thinking in man. Where did she experiment with emotions? Emotional energy with animals. Right? So each house is represented by an animal. Each house is represented by an animal. Now, this tells us something about the person. What is his predominant emotion? Which emotion rules him? Which predominant emotion rules him? Then there is a circulation of light in the solar system, and if we can follow that circulation of light, right, then the marriage goes into a different dimension altogether. We are working on a totally different, we are leaving all this, my job, my happiness, my this, and we are going in for a movement towards growth in a different dimension. Now let us see that when we look at the planets, between the sun, the source of all light in the solar system is sun. Between the sun and earth, how many planets? Between the sun and earth, how many planets? Mercury, Venus, right? And the earth has a satellite called the moon. So Mercury, Venus, moon. 3. Now in order of light, how will we put them? First will come the moon. First will come the moon. Second will come Venus. Third will come Mercury. Now on this side of the earth, how many planets do we take? Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. In order of light, Jupiter, Mars, Saturn. Jupiter, Mars, Saturn. Now, between these 6 planets and the sun, the 7th, there is a circulation of light. And this circulation of light is circulation of between different emotions. Right? Each planet ruling 2 houses if we come to, and the sun ruling 1, moon ruling 1, right? We come to 12 houses, 5 2s are 10 and 2 7. 12 houses. So there is a circulation of light, and there is circulation of 2 currents, the solar current and the lunar current. Now, each one person, when you see the horoscope, will be one predominant planetary type. One predominant planetary type. Now, maybe next year, if we get a chance, then next year I want to talk on these planetary types, how to see them in the body, how to recognize the planetary types by looking at the nose, looking at the eyes. Maybe we can do that. Right? Okay, but supposing we put these planetary types as lunar, Venusian, Venus, Mercurial, Saturn, Saturnine, Martial, Mars, and Jovial. Right? Now there is a movement. The lunar type will move if he matures or she matures in life, will move towards Venus. Will move towards Venus. The Venusian type, the Venus type, when he or she matures, will move towards Mercury. The Mercurial type, when he or she matures, will move towards Saturn. The Saturnine type will move towards Mars, Martial, and the Martial will move towards Jovial, Jupiter, and the Jovial to Lunar. These are the inner types, inner circulation. So supposing I am a lunar type, if I am to lead my partner, I will marry a jovial type. But if my partner is to lead me, I will marry a Venusian type. This is an inner circulation where it becomes very easy to see whether it is matching in this way or that way. Whether she is going to lead me or I am going to lead her. Now, why is this? How does this come about? What is marriage now? Now we come to the question of what is marriage. What is marriage? It is the seeking of perfection. The seeking of perfection. We want to be complete. We want to be perfect. So, each person who gets married is actually what? Male and female. Male and female. Right? So if I am a lunar type, I am a male, so my outer type is lunar, my inner female could either be Venusian or jovial. So I will look for a partner who is either Venusian or jovial because she is going to match my inner female. Now, am I coming to something? How marriage is a search for love, a search for perfection. Then there is a kind of complementary exchange in the marriage. We do not marry another person. This is the biggest illusion that we are marrying somebody else. We only marry the inner man or inner woman. And we want that marriage to become a pathway to lead us to something higher, for spiritual perfection. That marriage, it becomes a pathway to spiritual perfection. So one of the easiest ways is to see it through the horoscope. See it through the horoscope, right? When you're seeing it through the horoscope, it again will boil down to that every man is looking for his inner female and every female is looking for the inner male. And this is the real marriage. When they complement each other, each finds the other. Each one is looking for the other. The other is just an excuse to find the one which is hidden inside. Now, what is the raw material for marriage? The raw material for love. What is the raw material for love? We did this on the first day. We did this. What is the raw material for love? In Gujarati, what do we call it? The raw material. Prem no, raw material શું છે? લાગણી. Affection. લાગણી, affection. હવે એ લાગણીને શેમાં? We want to transform it into what? શેમાં એને change કરવું પડે છે? Affection. What do you want to transform that affection into what? When she is talking to somebody else, I am feeling jealous. Now, what do I want to transform this affection into?
Possession.
Huh?
Possession.
I want to transform it into something higher. I want to transform it into something higher. So, there is a conjunction of affection, but that affection is not pure. It is loaded with so many negative emotions. So my whole journey is to make it pure. I feel irritated with her. I start working with the irritation. I feel angry with her. I start working with the anger. Somebody has to compromise. Somebody has to sacrifice. Then there is the joy in sacrifice. And in this way, slowly the affection, that raw material with which we fell in love, is transformed into something higher. And it is through the process of marriage. But it must be on both sides. Each one wants to do this transformation. Otherwise, what will happen? Love will easily transform into hate. Love will just transform into hate. Today I love her, but she's talking to somebody else. I am jealous. My love has transformed into hate. It is transformed into something lower. So each moment, that which is lower, I want to transform it into something higher. And it is this process which is the process of marriage. Coming together and transforming this. Like I said, till we get rid of our fantasies, the imagination by which we have both come together, this process of marriage, it's not going to work. It's just going to be imaginary people meeting. But if we can, then marriage is a path to total perfection. Right? Each one finds the inner male and finds the inner female. Now, what will happen to attention in this? See, આપણી લાગણી કેવી છે અત્યારે? જે ગમે તે જગ્યાએ ચોટી જાય, ગમે તે જગ્યાએ ચોટી જાય. It gets stuck anywhere, and it's full of glue. It's full of glue. Our affection is full of glue. It's stuck to the wife, it's stuck to the daughter, it's stuck to so many things. And everybody's share prices go up and down. Son passes the exam, share price goes up. Son fails in exam, share price goes down. All our relationships are nothing but the stock market. She says good words, share price goes up. Now we want to transform that. That lower substance has to be transformed. In English we have only one word, emotion. We can use the word emotion and astral. He has an emotional body, he has an astral body. An astral body is something totally different. An astral body. You have to make an astral body. Everybody is not born with an astral body. You were born with an emotional body. You are born with a lagni sharir. Eમાંથી ભાવ શરીર બનાવવું પડે. So now, in love, there is no feeling of supposing there is one girl and there are two boys. Right? And one of the boys, I remember when I was very young, there was a very famous cricketing family in Bombay, and two of the brothers, they fell in love with the same girl. And then you know what they did? They tossed them. They tossed them. Coin. We don't want to toss the coin. Right? But what is not there in love? Supposing one guy gets the girl, is there a feeling of victory? Feeling of victory. In love, there is no feeling of victory. There is no feeling of victory. If there is feeling of victory, it is always from the ego. Always from the ego. Oh, I got this guy. She did what I asked her to do. Feeling of victory. Then it is not love. Look, she had to do it, no. Or he had to do it, no. In love, there is no feeling of victory. So no complaining, no. One more thing, with complaining, what goes? Blaming. Do we blame the other? Right? So, if we can, then marriage can really become a pathway to complete spiritual perfection. You don't have to look for anything else. The wife becomes the guru, the husband becomes the guru. You don't have to look for an outer guru also. You just have to move on the path of marriage, and one day you find your inner female. The soulmate is inside, the soulmate is not outside. Now, everybody has a psychology. And this acceptance has to be in the marriage, that in everybody's psychology live the 101 Kauravas. Whomever I marry, in her mind, Shakuni is also there, Duryodhana is also there, Dushasana is also there, Dhritarashtra is also there, and I have to have the acceptance for that. And it is in this acceptance that I grow. That consciousness grows. It accommodates. There is only one barometer if a person has progressed on the spiritual path. Only one test. And that is his power to take other people's negativity. How much can he endure? What is his power of endurance? If he gets upset in small matters, if somebody criticizes him, he feels hurt. If somebody passes some comment, he feels hurt. If somebody says something bad, he feels let down. If somebody is not on time, he feels let down. If somebody is not put the chair, he has felt let down. Then there is no spiritual progress. Right? So in marriage, it is a test for our power of endurance. Test for our power of endurance. Right? I remember there was this guy who he once sent me somebody's horoscope. And I said, this horoscope is not matching. But if you want to do sadhana, then this doesn't make any difference which horoscope it is. Just do your sadhana. So next day he sent me a telegram. I've decided to do sadhana. Everybody has the 101 Kauravas in them, whomever we marry. Everybody has an unconscious mind. Everybody has secrets. Everybody has a dark side. And it is with this acceptance that we get married and we transform. Right, I'll stop here. Any questions? No questions? Everybody happily married?
Yeah. First question, what is your viewpoint on people moving, or couples moving in together before marriage?
I think it's going to happen more and more because people want to know whether we are compatible with the other person. It's become an intellectual world now. And people want to think, they want to live with the other person, they want to see. Because so many things come out when you are living together. Like my wife tells me that there's no one who can live with you. You just go on your own somewhere. So, before the marriage, everything is very cozy. But if you're living together, then the unconscious mind of the person comes out. And it's going to happen more and more. That people will say that 6 months, let's take a chance.
Do you recommend it?
Huh?
Do you recommend it?
It's not the right platform for me to recommend it. But it will happen. It's going to go. It is moving towards it. And what happens, it happens for the good, I suppose. Why? Anything in the air?
I've got another question. What do you think about, is it necessary for parents to give blessings to their children when they get married?
Give?
For parents to give blessings to their children when they get married? Is there any significance or importance to that?
See, the cycle goes round. The cycle goes round. The son becomes the father becomes the son. There's something deeper because what I've not been able this time to explain what is the meaning of the word form. Life comes from the sun. Form comes from the planets. Material comes from the earth. It is these three things which come into a human being. Life from the sun, form from the planets, and material from the earth. It is these three things which get together. Now, what is form? It's very difficult for me to explain what is form. An architect has the form of the house in his mind. The material is not yet, the material is going to take time. It will take a couple of years for the house to be built. But before the house is built, he has the form in his mind. The form is made of magnetic substances which come from the planets. Right? Now, the material may not be repeated, but the form is repeated. Now, this is something much more deeper than DNA. You get what I'm trying to say? Now, here you can have a parental test to see whether the child is of this parent or this. It's a DNA testing, right? But the Shastra says that the form is repeated. In the child, the form is repeated. So there is some astrological connection which is beyond the physical body between the father and son. Right? And because the cycle goes round, if the son does something to hurt the father, then that cycle is going to go round some day. I'll give you one instance. One person, he came to one of my camps and he, for no reason, he could not, get along with his wife. So 6 months or so after the marriage, he went and put his wife at his mother's home. The wife had a daughter. So she came and left the daughter as soon as she was born with the husband. Okay, you take care of the daughter. He looked after the daughter for 20 years, father and mother, both. She got married. After some time of marriage, her husband left her back. He came to me, he was crying. He said that this 20 years I had with my daughter was such beautiful years. I mean, I really looked after my daughter. But now that since she has come back, she is no longer my daughter, my wife has come back. Everything that I was running away from you see, the form is repeating. The daughter has changed. After marriage, the resentment of the husband leaving her, those wounds and everything, it brought out the unconscious side, the hidden side, which was in her. But for those 20 years, it has not come out. You get it? How forms repeat. And it is this repetition of form that we call as sanskar, karma. It's very difficult to explain this. It is this repeating of form. Form follows a certain law. There is a law. So it would be right to, be complementary with the father and mother rather than contradictory. Because in the sowing of the seed of contradictory, we are inviting some other cycle. Because the form is going to repeat.
Is it a karma?
That is what I'm trying to tell you. All karma is form. It is not body. We relate to body. When you see, Shastra will say that, oh, Ram killed Vali. So Vali became the hunter who killed Krishna. But there is no physical, there is a repetition of form. And this form repeats according to law. And that law is karma. So it's very difficult to explain. And if I have to explain, I'll have to explain on a blackboard. But we'll keep that for some other time. But what I'm trying to say is that rather than contradictory, make it complementary. So have a good marriage where the parents are in agreement with it. Yeah.
How necessary is it to get married in terms of your spiritual progress? Because I always assume that marriage actually makes it more difficult to progress spiritually.
There's no spiritual progress without marriage. You have to get married. There's no spiritual progress without marriage. Those whom we see as Swamis or Vivekananda, they did something in their past life and they came. But for us, we have to get married. Right? It is only through marriage that spiritual progress can come. It is only through that we relate to someone, where we complement someone. And in that complementary, we become whole, purna. But if we are on our own, we are not complementing anything. Yeah. You get it? So on your own, there is no spiritual progress. By becoming a sadhu and going to an ashram, there is no spiritual progress. Most of the ashrams today are just, just extensions of all the negativeness of families lies in India's ashrams today. It's a mess. It's a mess. So, you want to run away from marriage? I'll tell you, without fire, there is no heat. Without heat, there is no burning away of impurity. Without burning away of impurity, there is no separation. And if there is no separation, then we'll never realize that we are divine. Right? So for that, we need heat. If you go into an ashram, there is no heat. But if I fight with my wife every day, there's heat. Now there's heat. Now start using that heat. Turn it into the fire of tapa. There's friction. She wants to see saas bhi bahu thi, and I want to see. Right? I want to see the cricket match. Now there's friction. And this is the fire. This fire you turn into tapa. You turn it onto the very irritation which created that fire. And in that fire, the irritation burns away. And in that burning away, there's freedom from the irritation. That freedom is moksha. That you are not the lower psychic nature, there is something much higher. You have to get married. You need friction, a lot of friction. You need obstacles. You cannot move on a perfect path. We all expect life to go the way we want it to go. It doesn't work that way. Life has its own way of movement. And we can only understand life if we understand the laws which underlie life. Then we know life can never go the way we dream it to go. It can never go the way we expect it to. It has its own movement. It works according to law. And if we've understood that law, we are free of that law. But if we expect that tomorrow will be better, tomorrow will be better, tomorrow will be better, then we are just hypnotized by life, by the events of life. Still got 1 minute.
If you don't fight with your wife, you still grow spiritually.
Oh yeah, not fight in the real sense. It is the art of complement, the art of sacrifice. But you must get married. Like we go to a gym to get physical muscles. The marriage gives us psychological muscles. Right? And we learn to lift more and more weight. You know, there's this great sadhu, when he was meditating, he went into this thing to meditate. He said that God will look after me. So he was meditating under a tree and his thoughts calmed down and everything. And there was a river going by and he opened his eyes and there was this beautiful leaf with a nice cream pudding on the leaf. He said, oh, God has given me food to eat. And this went on for 7 years. Every time he'd open his eyes and this, right, a leaf full of cream pudding would be there. Now after 7 years he said, where is this cream pudding coming from? This is the problem. So he said one day he started following up the river. Where is it coming from? And he came to a tower. And he came to a tower and there was this beautiful princess on top of the tower and she was applying makeup to her face, you know, all that cream and lemon and all that on her face. And then she would leave it there and take it out and put it on a leaf and put it in the river. And he saw it and he got so angry. And 7 years of meditation went away. In that one anger, you have to get married. You can't meditate under a tree, even if God takes care of you. That's why many times people come, then what should we do? I say, do 3-step rhythmic breathing. They don't understand. And I remember there's one street there used to be, you know, where only gurus lived on that street. So this guy says, I want to get the truth. So he says, do this rhythmic breathing. He said, this guru is useless. So he went to the other guru. Do rhythmic breathing. This is useless. He went to the third one. Rhythmic breathing. You don't have to do anything else. The fourth guru, he says, oh, you go into the kitchen and you cut vegetables. So after 3 years of cutting vegetables, he said, but when are you going to teach me the truth? He said, you wanted truth? You should have told me, do rhythmic breathing. We need struggle. We have to struggle. If it's given free of charge to us, nobody, the value doesn't. That's why we get married. Cut the vegetables. In the end, we're doing 3-step rhythmic breathing. I I didn't want to have a child, and my guru forced me to have a child. We argued and argued, and initially my wife and I, we were very influenced by Osho's teaching. For years I was with Osho, I was in his ashram in America also. And his thing was no children, and we didn't want to have a child. And a point came where my guru, Mr. Tavriya, said, no, you have to have a child. And so many things, hidden things come out of the unconscious mind, which you don't know are lying there because you've not had a child. And then when I had a daughter, I realized that so many things were still lying in the unconscious mind, which would have never come out if I had not had a daughter. Marriage is necessary. Marriage is necessary. Have to get married. Otherwise the unconscious remains where it is. The conscious goes into meditation, it does some yoga or something, and nothing changes in the unconscious. Okay, thank you. Jai Shri Krishna. Good night.